I mean, I'd rather be hysterical and wrong than be right and have Hitler on our doorstep.
I came up through these streets, now who's running the show? Me. Ha ha, he. We topping the bill now. Stacking the bills now.
I'm Van Jones, this is woke.vote. I am here with the definition of the woke white girl. Her name is Chelsea Handler in the house.
I am awake, and I would like to say it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm wide awake, and that there's an audience here is very impressive. I can't believe you guys came out. That's awesome.
That's good. Look, I think it's just because people are that serious about what's going on in the country, and people want us to see real change. What are you thinking as we're going forward into this midterm election? A lot of people are hoping there's going to be a blue wave. Some people are scared there's not going to be any real response. As a woman, given all the stuff with Kavanaugh and all the nonsense, I mean, how do you see things?
I think people are really pissed off, especially women, which is a good place to be, right, going into an election. And I think that, we don't know what impact Russia is planning this time around, so it has to be incentivization for every single person to use their voice and vote on November 6th. And I think people are getting that message loud and clear. And after the Kavanaugh hearings, any woman that could sit there and watch that and be fine with sending somebody of that temperament, whether he's guilty or not, which after his testimony, I would say that was a huge indicator that he is guilty of bad behavior and has done things that he regrets. And that was him sober.
Right.
So I would say
sober in public.
Him plus alcohol and outrage together aren't a good combo plat, or something I learned after the election. But I think we're in a good place. Obviously, we can't ever predict anything, because anytime we think something's gonna happen, I've said that so many times, and I've been wrong, and so many people have been. So I think we just have to really, the women's movement that's happened this year is inspiring for so many reasons, and people coming together and the men coming together with the women in this movement is powerful. And I think we'll see a reflection of that.
Yeah. I am really inspired. I see the marches, I see the memes online and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if people really feel that they got to translate that, though, to November. How can we get people to see that, tweeting is good, but tweets don't count as votes? Liking.
They don't?
No, it turns out they don't.
Shoot.
Exactly. We've been wasting a lot of time in these Uber. I'm like, tweet doesn't count as a vote. How do we get people to begin to make the turn now as we're coming down the line for the midterm?
For me, what I've discovered from talking to people is, something that Donald Trump does very well. One of the only things, I was going to knock on wood, but what good would that do? Is repetition, is putting the information out there over and over and over again. And that's something I try and do, on my social media platforms, is make people aware of, all the candidates. Just spreading awareness, having people share that information on all of your platforms over and over and over and over again. Yeah. These are the people to watch out for. These are the candidates that are running. These are the people that are, aligned with your values. I mean, at this point, you're not voting, voting Republican is voting for somebody who put kids in cages. Like, that was the end of it for me.
For a lot of people, that was the last straw.
Yeah, like, there's no reconciliation for voting for somebody, a man who's capable of that in this day and time in this country.
I mean, you don't have to do this stuff. You don't have to be involved. I mean, give me a little bit of the origin story, because at some point you must not have been this woke, this awake. How did you get on this journey?
Well, I would say that it's embarrassing to admit, because I've always been political, I've always voted, I've always been vociferous about whatever opinions I hold. And I just thought when Barack Obama was elected, for me, that was such a seminal moment. Like, everybody who voted for him, felt like, oh my God. And I'm a white girl from New Jersey. I thought I worked really hard to get where I was. And it wasn't until I started to see all of the racism in this country that I wasn't privy to growing up. I didn't grow up around, Black people, and that's not an excuse. That's me not being more aware of what was going on outside of my own lane, and only paying attention to me surviving and me succeeding and me coming to Hollywood and making money and being able to take extravagant vacations and pay for my family and do whatever I want to make me feel better, me feel good. Until I finally was able to look outside my lane and go, And Obama was the part of that. I think when he was elected, you started to go, oh God, what this meant for the world to elect a black president, what it meant globally, the impact that America had. And then I started to look around more, and then I started to read more about things that were not like my experience, and that's when I started to get really passionate about not fighting your own fight all the time, to fight for other people. I feel fulfilled. I feel like I am doing something of import by talking about it to other people and to other white people, because most people are living their own lives and trying to get through. Some people are are working 2 or 3 jobs, and they don't have time to think about climate change, or they don't have time to think about polar bears. They're like, I want more money. I don't want to have to work 3 jobs and support 3 children on a single family income. So I want to, reach out to those people and say, hey, let's all get together because we're fighting for each other. When one of us succeeds, when a woman succeeds, women succeed. When a person of color succeeds, people of color succeed. So it's all about us getting on the same page and fighting for each other. And I felt that more passionately since, Donald Trump was elected. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure, racism is gone in this country, and then feminism, like we've hit the glass ceiling, or crashed through the glass ceiling. Obama and Hillary Clinton. And then everything came crashing down, and you realize how much work there is to be done.
For me, I feel that transgender liberation, like you said, cannabis, all these issues, these cultural issues are rising, and demographically the country is changing. Is there a danger that we forget that we got 3 million more votes than Trump did in 2016? Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes. That there is this positive momentum. We just have to actually show up in the midterms.
Yeah, we have to show up in the midterms, and I think that, it is dangerous, but we have to realize we are being ruled by a minority. We're in the majority. The majority of people did not vote for him. The majority of people are not going to vote for him. That's representative of this whole country, and I think the thing to get excited about is to elect members, people of color, women, so that when we have a government, it reflects this country and the constituents in this country, not 85-year-old white men, who are half senile, and I mean, I don't want to look at those guys anymore deciding what's going to happen for the future generations. And I think, in all of these tragedies with Parkland and all of these shootings at schools, finally, the silver lining to that is the galvanization of young people saying no fucking more. I think it's important to remember that these people's lives have been impacted in a way that is irreparable, and they are going to show up at the polls. And everybody just needs to get somebody who doesn't vote and convince them why it's so important, and find that one issue that means something to you, whether it's gay rights, whether it's cannabis use, whatever.
What do you say to people who say, listen, I just don't know enough about all this stuff?
I would say it's your responsibility, morally and civically, to show up and use your voice. Mm-hmm. Too many people fought for us to have the right to vote. And so for us to go, I don't know enough, is too lame.
Yeah. One of the things that I have just admired about your career is just the courage that you have to speak out. You say what you want to say. I mean, how do you continue to find the courage to be as outspoken as you are, and on multiple platforms? I mean, you do stuff in public, you do stuff on TV shows, you've got a documentary production, you got so much. So other people, it seems, are afraid to speak out because they might get in trouble. You're speaking out more and more. Why is that?
I feel like it's an emergency situation, and I don't feel like there's a choice. I think we're going to all look back at this time and think, what did you do? Did you sit back and say nothing? Were you complicit? Because it is complicit. I mean, I'd rather be hysterical and wrong than be right and have Hitler on our doorstep. And that can be histrionic or perceived as whatever, but it's that serious. We have a man that could get away with murder if he wanted to. He could. If he had his druthers, he would be a dictator. Clearly, that's what gives him a hard-on every single day. Sorry to give you that visual. Sorry, I didn't even mean that to come out of my mouth. It's way too early to think about anything like that.
There's no time of day.
Yeah, there's no time of day. I'm sorry, I had to take this down. I might need a nap break. I think that Donald Trump has to be, stopped in his tracks. I think that people who don't want to be political, I have friends who are political but aren't on social media. They're like, I can't, I have too many fans in this part. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me, because it is your duty to stand for something, In the beginning, I would be I couldn't talk to anybody who wasn't being political. And then people were starting to really get annoyed with me. So I calmed down because I realized you're not making any inroads by behaving that way either.
I think a lot of people are suffering.
for Christine Blasey Ford to come forward and testify in that way, she had to move out of her house. Her life is being, ripped apart, and still not to get justice, and he still gets confirmed for is got to be the worst of the worst. And that's why the reverberation of this, or the repercussions of this, are likely to be so stark. It's like, okay, so we had Barack Obama, and this is the answer to Barack Obama. That's the pendulum, is Donald Trump. Well, then I can't wait to see what the pendulum is for Donald Trump.
Right.
We're going to get a black woman, transgender, and we're going to shove it right all in your face.
That'd be awesome. And we're on our way, because we do have a lot of women who are running. It's like an unprecedented number of women who are running. When you look out and see all these women who are getting out there and showing this kind of courage, how does that strike you?
Well, it's super. I partnered with Emily's List at the end of after the election to start, amplifying female candidates that were running, because they endorse progressive women that are running. And Emily's List got something like 16,000 phone calls after the election of Donald Trump for women running. There are more record number of women running this year than any year, but women are motivated because of Donald Trump. The reaction, the very women who put him into office, 53% of white women, a lot of them are having second thoughts. And then also, the gun issue. Like, women are sensible enough to know that we need gun reform. We don't need to take away the Second Amendment. We need gun reform in this country. We need people to know that their children are going to go to school safely. The idea that Republicans, and the hypocrisy of saying you're not allowed to have an abortion, but when your kid is born, we're not going to keep them safe at school, is complete and total bullshit.
Right. Yeah,
Is it better to be shot when you're 6 or to not come into this world in the first place? Which one?
For me, when I look out, I remember the day after Trump was elected. I worked for a TV station, so I had to be in DC when Trump was elected. And you saw the people with the red hats or whatever, and they were kind of a small and angry band of people. But it wasn't a lot of people, no matter what Trump says. My inauguration was the biggest one ever. Like, I was there, it was not the biggest ever.
It looked like a scene out of some dark movie, like Batman,
Yeah, exactly.
Before Batman arrives.
Yeah, so. But then the next day, Batman did arrive, and Batman was like 1 million women. And it was dope. You literally, you couldn't move. There were so many people who showed up. And a lot of people said, okay, well, that's fine. The women, they're mad for like a day or whatever. I think that Women's March started something that really hasn't stopped. I think that rolled right into the Me Too movement. I think that rolled right into the Kavanaugh protests. I think it can roll right into the midterm elections. What do you think about 2020? Just to move ahead a little bit, there are a lot of women who, whether it's Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or Tulsi Gabbard, the young veteran from Hawaii who might run. Do you think that this party could and should nominate a woman again for 2020?
Yes, I want to vote for a woman. I think women are so galvanized right now. Yes, we should have a female candidate on the ticket. Is America ready for that? I don't know. I don't know. Do we shoot ourselves in the foot by doing that? My answer would be no. We have to. We have to keep pushing the envelope forward. People are like, oh, it's too soon. It's too soon for one. It's like, no, you can't have that attitude. That's what holds everybody back. That's what holds every marginalized group back, by going, no, we don't want to, come forward or push it too much. It's like, yeah, you got to push it.
Yeah, I think so too. Luckily, I think the black women came in like 96% for Hillary Clinton, so that's a good sign that maybe other women can kind of follow black women's leadership whenever.
We should always be voting like black women. Black women always vote in their best interest.
That's 100% true. Literally, like as close to unanimity as you can get. 96, 97% voted for Hillary Clinton, black women, and then black men, I think, were 88, and then everybody else far behind. In closing, just for all the fans out there, the people who love you and love your voice, I know you've got a documentary in production. Like, what are you going to be doing over the next months and years to keep your voice heard?
To keep I wanted to be active this year, really get on the ground and show people that, elitists actually do care. Everyone's from LA and New York has been thought to be that an elitist. And the truth is I am one. I worked really hard to become one because I didn't, I wanted to have a house in Bel Air and have success and have, notoriety. And I got it. So what I'm going to do with it now is different than what I wanted to do with it 5 years ago. And it's not all about activism. activism. That's going to be a big part of my life for the rest of my life. But, you know, obviously I want to get back to work and I want to focus on other things at some point. I mean, I'm writing a book and on my documentary, and those are two things I'm doing right now so that I'm not just, because this 100% of the time really does get to me, and I feel like it is cancer causing in a way, you know, watching the news over and over, and I'm so guilty of, you know, sometimes I watch Brian Williams twice. It comes on the West Coast feed, and then it comes on the East Coast feed. I'm like, turn the TV off. You've already seen this episode of the news. I want my life back in a way. After November, I'll reassess what I think, where I can be helpful, and if I can be helpful, and, you know, and I'll go back and do something on television. I mean, that's the nature of my career, so just a little break to try and help out.
The fact that you're willing to use your platform, like you said, to go beyond. I mean, everybody starts out just trying to figure out how they can, like, tie their shoes and read a book and wipe their own butt. I mean, like, everybody starts off like about themselves. It's like that's just natural and normal. And then you get a little bit more conscious and you start worrying about people like yourself. But not everybody starts worrying about everybody else. That requires courage, it requires enlightenment, it requires character. And you're somebody, you have a platform, and you're actually trying to go to help others and to take your own understanding deeper. And I just think that everybody can learn from that. I mean, that to me, that is the most. There's so many things about you that are inspiring, including all the things all the things you've overcome, which you know make jokes about. But you know, we know the pain of the stuff you've had to overcome. But the fact that you didn't stop with yourself, you didn't stop with just, like you said, pretty white girls from New Jersey, that you're fighting for everybody, that's really what I think this election's got to be about. It's got to be about all of us fighting for all of us. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Chelsea Handler.
Thanks, man.
Woke, vote. Another episode. So proud to have you here. See you guys next time.
Get woke, be woke, and then stay woke.